The coffee is cold again. Laurel doesn't notice until it's already in her mouth, that flat, tepid wrongness, and she sets the mug down on the windowsill and looks out at the yard the way she has been looking at it every morning for 3 weeks. The grass is too long. The birdbath is full of October rainwater and one dead leaf, turning slow circles in the wind. The maple at the far edge of the property has gone the color of something burning, and she finds she cannot look away from it for longer than she means to. She should have stayed in the city. That's what she told herself when the letter came. When the lawyer's voice on the phone was patient in the particular way that people are patient with nurses, like they assume the job means you can absorb any news and keep moving. Your great-aunt Rosalind has passed. There is a property. You are, it appears, the last one. The last one. Laurel had laughed, and then felt bad for laughing, and then gone back to her shift because there were 3 patients who needed her, and she was the one there. She has been the one there for as long as she can remember. The house is old in a way that is not picturesque. It does not creak romantically. It groans, low and deliberate, like it is reminding you it was here before you and will be here after. 5 generations of her family moved through these rooms, and all of them left something behind: a smell in the back bedroom, a worn path in the kitchen linoleum, a collection of door handles that don't match because they were replaced one at a time across 100 years. The house has the feeling of a drawer that has never been fully emptied. Laurel is on leave. She did not ask for it. Her supervisor, Deb, had come into the break room during a Tuesday morning shift and said, "You have 4 weeks of PTO, and you haven't taken a single day in 2 years. You are going to take them." And Deb had looked at Laurel in that way she has, not unkind, just direct. And Laurel had understood she was not being given a choice. So here she is, a house full of her family's silence and 4 weeks to fill. She picks up the mug and takes another sip of the cold coffee before she remembers she has already decided she doesn't want it. This is what she does. She forgets to want things. The first thing she notices is a smell. It arrives on a Thursday, in the late afternoon, when the light through the west windows goes gold and slanted. She is sorting through a box of Rosalind's papers, not with any urgency, just methodically, the way she would chart a patient, and then the room smells like cedar and something else she cannot name. Not cologne, exactly. Something older than that. Something that might be pipe tobacco, if she had ever known anyone who smoked a pipe. Which she hasn't. She lifts her head. The room is empty. The window is closed. The smell is already fading. She goes back to the papers. On Saturday, the temperature in the hallway drops for no reason she can find. She checks the baseboards, the vents, the window at the top of the stair. Nothing. The thermostat reads 68. The hallway feels like 50. She gets a sweater and stops thinking about it, mostly. On Monday, she is in the kitchen peeling apples. She has begun doing this in the evenings, peeling apples she doesn't particularly want to eat, running the peel off in one long, unbroken spiral, because it requires just enough attention to quiet the other thoughts, and she hears something behind her. Not a sound exactly, more like the sense of a sound. The way you know someone has come into a room before you've turned around. She turns around. The kitchen is empty. She goes back to the apple. She calls her friend Dana that night, sitting on the porch, steps in the dark because the reception is better outside. It's a 5-generation-old house, Dana says. Of course it feels occupied. I'm not saying it feels occupied. I'm saying it feels... Laurel searches for the word. Attended. Like someone is paying attention. Dana is quiet for a moment. Laurel, have you slept? Some, Have you eaten things that aren't coffee and whatever weird apples you keep telling me about? They're Honey Crisps. That's not an answer. Laurel looks up at the sky. Out here, it is genuinely dark. No city light to dilute it. And the stars are disorienting in their number. She used to know the constellations. She has forgotten most of them. There is a lot she has let fall out of herself in the past several years. Information she once made room for. Small pleasures she stopped having time for. Somewhere in her 20s, she became almost entirely practical, and she doesn't know exactly when it happened or what she would do differently if she went back. I'm fine, she says. You've said that every week since Marcus. Dana. I know. I'm sorry. I worry. Don't. But after she hangs up, she sits on the steps for a long time, not going in. The night smells like wood smoke from someone's chimney down the road. The maple rustles without much wind. And for just a moment she will turn this over. For days afterward, she has the distinct, bodily sense of someone sitting beside her. Not frightening, not cold, just present. She goes inside and does not peel an apple. She goes to bed instead, and she sleeps better than she has in months, which bothers her more than any of the rest of it. His name, when she finally asks, is Elliot, but she doesn't ask for a long time. He is not that kind of presence at first. He is the kind that accumulates. By the second week, she has started to notice him without seeing him. The rocking chair on the porch has taken to facing the yard instead of the road, and she is certain she didn't move it. The book she left open on the kitchen table is closed in the morning, which is something she does in her sleep, except she was sleeping upstairs. The cedar smell has become familiar. A signal, now, instead of a strangeness. The way you start to recognize someone's step in the hall. She talks, sometimes, to the room. Nothing embarrassing. Just comments. The weather is turning. I made too much soup again. I can't find the fuse box, and I suspect Rosalind buried that information deliberately. She does not expect an answer. She is a practical woman from a long line of practical women, and she knows the difference between haunted and grieving, or she thought she did. The first time she actually sees him, it is raining. Not a dramatic rain. Not a story-announcing rain. Just a gray, Tuesday afternoon rain that has fogged the windows and made the house feel smaller and closer, which she has stopped minding. She is sitting at the kitchen table with her second cup of coffee hot this time. She is making an effort, and she looks up and there he is, standing near the window. Not quite solid. The word that comes to her is approximate, like a drawing that someone did from memory. Mostly right, but with a kind of shimmer at the edges. He is not young and not old. He is wearing a shirt she cannot entirely resolve. And he is looking at her in a way that is not threatening and not startling and not any of the things she would have expected if she had thought to expect anything. He looks caught. She sets down her coffee cup. Neither of them speaks for what feels like a long time. Then he says, and his voice has the quality of a radio someone is tuning, not quite all the way in, but close enough to understand. I didn't think you could see me yet. Yet, she says. He almost smiles. There is something in the corner of his mouth that is on its way to becoming a smile, and then he thinks better of it. And that small moment of self-editing is the most human thing she has ever seen from a person who is not, technically, a person anymore. I've been trying to be quiet, he says. You closed my book. It was face down on the spine. It ruins the binding. She looks at him. He looks back. The rain runs down the outside of the window. Who are you? She asks. He tells her his name. Elliot Marsh. He was not family. is the first thing he says. Like that is the most important thing to clarify. He found the house, years ago, before she was born. He had rented a room from Rosalind, for one summer, 1,987. Between one thing and another. He is vague about what those things were. He says between one thing and another, and then stops. And she understands that there is something there that he is not ready to carry out into the open. And so she does not push. One summer, she says. And then I came back, he says. After. She does not ask him to be clearer than that. She has sat with enough people at the end of things to know when someone is still learning the shape of their own story. Is this? She gestures at the room. Is this all right with you? That I'm here? He considers this, seriously. Which she did not expect. He does not say, of course. Or what a strange question. He actually considers it. Yes, he says finally. I think so. You're quiet. I'm a nurse. Quiet is professional. Is that why you talk to the kitchen? She picks up her coffee. The kitchen doesn't tell anyone. This time he does smile. It is a real one, small. And it changes his face into something she realizes she will find herself thinking about later when she is trying to sleep. She finds the voicemail by accident. Her phone has transferred itself across too many upgrades, carrying things she never chose to carry: photos, contacts, a note she wrote to herself in 2019 that just says oranges. And somewhere in the migration, a voicemail has survived that she did not expect to survive. She presses play without thinking, because the name attached to it is her mother's. And her mother has been dead for 6 years. And she has called this number so many times the audio has gone grainy at the edges, like an old photograph. Hi, Lovebug. It's Mom. I'm just calling to say I made that soup you like, the one with the lentils. And I thought, if you're not on shift this weekend, you could come by. No pressure. Just I made a lot. I always make too much. Call me when you can, okay? Love you. 47 seconds. Laurel sits on the edge of the bed in the upstairs room that smells like cedar and something older, and she does not cry. Because she has been not crying about this for 6 years and she is quite practiced at it by now. She just holds the phone and breathes the way she tells her patients to breathe slowly, from somewhere below the ribs, until the particular weight of the moment passes from an impossible weight to just a weight, which is all she can manage. She didn't go that weekend. She was on shift. She went the weekend after, and the soup was gone. And she didn't ask about it because she had missed it, and saying so would have meant saying she was sorry, and she was not sure her mother needed that apology, or she was not sure she could make it without unraveling. And so she let the moment go. And then there were other moments that she let go. And then her mother got sick. And then there was no more time for the soup, or any of it. This is not a dramatic thing. This is just what happened. This is what happens. She presses play again. Hi, Lovebug. Behind her, the temperature in the room drops slightly, and she knows without turning that Elliot is there. She does not turn. He does not speak. The voicemail plays through its 47 seconds in the quiet. And when it ends, she puts the phone face down on the mattress. And she can feel him deciding whether to say something, and she can feel him deciding not to. This, she thinks, is kindness. The particular kindness of not filling a silence with sound just because sound is available. Thank you, she says. To the room, to the cedar smell, to whatever version of Elliot Marsh is standing in the corner of a house he never quite left. She hears him exhale. She isn't sure ghosts exhale. October deepens. The maple loses its leaves all in 1 week, as if it made a decision. The mornings come in gray, and the afternoons go gold and short. And Laurel begins to think of this light as Elliot's light, the slanted, late-day kind, which is when he is most likely to be visible, most likely to be solid enough to feel like a real presence in the room rather than an almost presence. She learns things about him the way you learn things about a place you live in gradually, without noticing you are accumulating information until you already have it. He was 34 when he died. He never says how, and she does not ask, though she has her guesses. He had a brother he argued with about something he describes only as something small that I made large. He liked the yard in the mornings. He had been trying to learn to cook and was bad at it, and found this funny, which she finds funny. This ghost who cannot eat, having opinions about the proper method for browning butter. You can't even taste it, she points out one evening. I can remember tasting it. Close enough. She is peeling an apple. He is sitting or doing the approximation of sitting in the chair across the table. You always do that, he says. The apples? You get this look when you're thinking about something else, like you're solving a problem with your face. I'm not. She stops. I do that? Every time. What are you thinking about? She considers lying. She is good at lying by omission, which she has always told herself is different from lying, but which she knows is not that different from lying. My mother, she says. Tell me. And she does. Not everything, not all at once, but she tells him about the soup and the weekend she missed, and the specific sound of her mother's voice in 47 seconds of audio, so degraded, it is almost more memory than recording now. She tells him the way you tell someone who is asking not to fix the thing but just to hear it. Elliot listens the way some people can fully, without arranging his response, while she is still talking. When she finishes, the kitchen is quiet, except for the sound of rain in the gutters. I think, Elliot says carefully, that your mother knew. Knew what? That you loved her. Even when you couldn't get there. He pauses. People who make too much soup know. That's the whole point of the soup. 1. Laurel looks at the apple in her hand, half peeled. You can't know that. No. He agrees. But I think it's true anyway. No. She goes back to the apple. The peel comes off in one long spiral, and she sets it on the table where it curls like a question mark, and she thinks about her mother in the kitchen, making lentil soup for one more person than she'd need, and not minding. She thinks, maybe. Part 4. What he came to say. She figures out what he is carrying on a night in November, when the first real cold comes down, and she has built a fire in the fireplace that Rosalind apparently used regularly, based on the ease with which it caught. She has been thinking about going back. Her leave is almost over. She has spent 4 weeks becoming, somehow, a person who sleeps 8 hours and eats warm food and sits with a ghost in the evenings and feels, not happy exactly, but less depleted than she has felt in years. She does not know what to do with this information. You're going to leave, Elliot says. I have to. I have patience. I know. But I could come back sometimes. On weekends. Yes, he says. And there is something in the word that she does not have a name for yet. She looks at him across the firelight. He is very visible tonight. More solid than usual. Which she has come to understand as a sign that he is working at something. What is it? She asks. He is quiet for a long time. Long enough that she thinks he might not answer. And she is already deciding to let it go. When he says, I had a fight with my brother. The week before I died. She waits. About nothing. About... He shakes his head. About who was supposed to call our mother. Whose turn it was. We said things. The kind of things that aren't worth saying. You know? The kind that feel like weapons at the time, and then just feel like waste afterward. Did you make it right? He looks at the fire. I was going to, he says. I kept thinking I would call, that I'd wait until I wasn't angry, and then I'd call, and he stops. And then I didn't. The fire pops and settles. His name is Robert, Elliot says. He's 71 now. He still lives in Portland. He's had a good life. Mostly. He has 3 kids and a dog, and he goes to the farmer's market on Saturdays. A pause. I've been watching him for a long time. 37 years is a long time to watch and not be able to say anything. Laurel understands. Now, not just what he carries, but why he is here. Why the house holds him. What an unfinished thing can weigh. What would you say? She asks. If you could, he has thought about this. She can tell he has thought about this for 37 years. That I was wrong to make it a fight, he says. That he was right. It was my turn to call. And I knew it, and I made it a whole thing because I was 28 and stupid, and too proud to just pick up the phone. His voice, that radio voice, almost tuned in, has gone very quiet. And that it didn't matter. It never mattered. I would have called 1,000 times if I'd known. He probably knows, Laurel says, before she can decide if she should. Elliot looks at her. People who keep fighting about whose turn it is, they do that because they want to talk. You both wanted to talk. She thinks about her mother's soup. The fight was just the shape the wanting took. Something in his face does something she cannot name. It is not relief, exactly. Not yet. It is the moment before relief. When you can feel it coming, and you're not sure you deserve it. I don't know that, she adds. But I think it. She adds. She drives to Portland on a Saturday. She does not know exactly what she is going to say. She has Robert's address because she spent 2 evenings looking for it, which felt absurd. Hunting down the brother of a ghost because a ghost asked her to, except he did not ask her to. Exactly. He told her the story and she understood what it needed. And she is a practical woman, from a long line of practical women, and she knows what to do with something unfinished. She knocks on the door. A man answers who looks nothing like Elliot, and she is briefly relieved and briefly disappointed. He has gray hair and a dog at his knee, and the cautious look of someone who does not expect good news from strangers on their doorstep. I'm sorry to bother you, she says. My name is Laurel. I've been staying in a house in Millbrook. I think you might have known someone who rented a room there. A long time ago. She tells him very little. She tells him that she found some of Elliot's things, not a lie. She found a paperback with his name inside, and that she thought he might like to know that. Whatever happened between them, his brother clearly held good memories of their family, and that the house where he stayed felt loved, and she thought someone who knew him should hear that. Robert stands in his doorway for a long time without speaking. Then he says, he never called. I know. I never called either. He is looking somewhere past her, at something in the middle distance. It was my turn. They stand there for a moment, the 2 of them, and the dog leans against Robert's leg. I'm sorry, she says. Not for any one thing. For the general human condition of meaning to do things and not doing them. For all the soup that gets eaten before you get there. Robert nods, slow. Would you like to come in? I was just about to make coffee. She drives home as the light is changing. Gold and brief, the November kind. She can tell before she opens the door. The house has a different quality to its silence. Not attended. Just empty. Not the good empty. The after the party empty. Where you can still feel the warmth of the people who were just there. The real empty. The one she has been carrying in herself. For years. She stands in the kitchen for a while. She does not peel an apple. The cedar smell is still there, very faint, like something the walls have absorbed. She thinks it might always be there, the way old houses hold everything, every meal, every argument, every winter, every person who ever loved the place and left it. On the kitchen table, the apple peeler is out, though she did not leave it there. She picks it up, turns it in her hands. She thinks about Robert's face when he said, "I never called either." She thinks about her mother making soup and leaving the phone on the kitchen counter so she would hear it ring. She thinks about 47 seconds of audio that gets grainier every time she plays it, wearing down like something she is slowly using up. And she thinks that maybe what love does, in the long run, is teach you how to hold a thing that is already going. She puts the apple peeler down. She takes out her phone. She does not play the voicemail. She just holds the phone and looks out at the yard and breathes, slowly, from somewhere below the ribs. The maple is bare now. Every leaf gone. It looks, without them, like it has been holding its actual shape back all along. And this is what it really is. All those clean, black branches. Reaching. There are apples on the counter. Honey Crisps. 6 of them. That she doesn't remember buying. She picks one up. Begins to peel. The peel comes off in one long, unbroken spiral. And she thinks, without meaning to, good. Just that. Just good. The way you feel when a thing that should be whole stays whole. The house settles around her, the good kind. The settling of a place that is not afraid of its own weight. She puts the kettle on. She is going home next week. She will go back to her patients and her early mornings and her friend Dana who worries and her supervisor Deb who makes her take her vacation days. She will go back to all of it. But she will come back here. She knows that now. She will come back to the yard and the maple and the 5-generation silence and the small cedar smell that may or may not mean anything and the apple peeler left out on the table and the very particular quality of the late afternoon light. And if the house is only a house, well, that is enough. That is, it turns out, more than enough. The water begins to boil. Somewhere in Portland, a man sits down at his kitchen table on a Saturday afternoon and writes a letter to someone he has owed a letter to for 37 years. He gets halfway through it, and then he stops, and he reads what he has written, and he thinks, it was never about the phone call. It was never about whose turn it was. He folds the letter in half. He puts it in a drawer. He does not need to send it. He knows, somehow in the way you sometimes just know things, standing in your kitchen, your dog at your knee, that it has already been received.